Tawni, you've spent so much of your professional life at places like Netflix and Cruise Automation, Waymo, and now Signal Fire. I'm curious, in your opinion, what do you think is the most important people topic facing companies today?
Yeah, I think it's the same topic that we've been struggling with for many years, which is finding the very best people to run your company, and being able to acquire the talent that you need for not just where you are, but where you're going.
So once you're in that position where you know that you need a new leader, what is it that you find that you're really looking for? How do you tell the difference between the leader that you want and the leader that you need to pass on?
Yeah, I think the biggest sort of way that I think I've differentiated in terms of how to look for leaders is looking for not just raw talent or skills or experience that people have had, but really looking for people that have strong emotional maturity and awareness, looking for people that have strong leadership skills, looking for individuals who have a track record of high motivation, high achievement, high belonging. So collaboration is one of the attributes that I think is more and more important in the workplace. And I think if I look back 10 years ago when we were hiring, we didn't look as much for those types of skills. People would have deemed them soft skills. And now I think they're the hard skills that we need to be successful in the workforce.
I mean, what you're talking about on the surface sounds like a big trade-off, right? I mean, what you're saying is that I need to look at emotional intelligence and people skills and skills that are going to be additive to our culture. And I need to prioritize those as much as the person's operational background. As a CEO, sometimes I'm looking for someone who's going to be exciting for my board, someone who's going to be exciting for my investors, someone who's going to drive growth. A lot of times those people have really strong operational backgrounds. And what I think I'm hearing from you is that I need to balance those needs with the needs of emotional intelligence and people skills. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's what makes it hard, right? So the first question that we talked about was, what's the toughest people issue that we have, or the toughest people topic? And it is finding amazing leaders. And part of the reason that it's so difficult is the bar has risen. It isn't enough that you have strong operational skills, that you have the right resume, that you have the right achievement in your background. It's also important that you're a great leader, that you can inspire your team, that people want to follow you. When you're looking, if you wanted to hire a leader and you only needed them to come in for a year or two and to accomplish some mission, then I think you can just focus on some of what people think of as like background and experience skills, a proven track record. But I think that if you're looking for someone to build a company or someone to take a company on the next mission for that journey, for real achievement in the marketplace, I think that you need to hire for both. And I think boards should demand both.
So at Torch, we think a lot about authenticity in terms of how we evaluate great leaders. And I'm curious for you, when you think about evaluating female and male leaders, do you think that female leaders have the same permission to be authentic as male leaders?
Yeah, and I say that with a sigh. I do think a female leader today versus 20 years ago has more permission to be her authentic self than she did 20 years ago. 20 years ago, if I had an appointment for my son, I would put it on my calendar as a meeting. And now I can put it as an appointment, even if it was a soccer game, right? So that feels really good to be both a mom and a leader. I would say though, the reason why I sigh is permission, yes, but I think it takes a while for society and workplaces to evolve to a place where those sort of implicit biases and kind of social norms, or to me they're social stereotypes, eventually start to seed from our society. And I think that's going to take more time. I'm pleased with the progress that we're making. Do I wish that we were further along? Sure, I do. And I'm sure many women feel that way. But I'm at least happy to see that we can have the conversation, that we're talking about authenticity. And to your point, I like that we're talking about authenticity with females and males. So I think that just as women have had to be a persona that they believe is the right kind of persona for them to be successful in the workforce, I think men have had that on them as well. Not to the same degree, but they have. I have two boys, and I see it in them as they're sort of starting to go out into the workforce. And so, I think it's more about helping people to understand what is authenticity, what does that look like, how does that show up in the workplace. It doesn't have to be you and I know every single aspect of each other's life. It's more about the fact that we have respect for each other's ideas, that we allow ourselves to disagree, that we invite a contrarian opinion, that we socially think it's acceptable, no matter what level in a company, for us to disagree and to get to the right answer together. I mean, those are the types of norms that I'm hoping that authenticity brings. But I also think it's nice when you can bring empathy, when you can bring social consciousness, when you can bring other aspects of society into your workplace, if they're right for your culture. That's not right for all cultures, but if they're right for yours.
Earlier you spoke about belonging. I'm curious how you think about belonging and how you evaluate that when you're interviewing a candidate.
Yeah, I think belonging has become an important part, especially for the early career, mid-career individuals. I think people want to be a part of a purpose, a mission, and in that they want to feel like they have a sense of belonging, that they are contributing to that mission. And I think you can do a lot culturally and as a leader to really foster that feeling for employees. And I think if you look at retention data, people having a sense of purpose or belonging can actually increase the likelihood that they stay with you. So more than pay, more than other reward systems that we use in the workforce. So I think it's worth exploring and worth investing as you're building a company.
Do you differentiate between belonging and purpose?
Yeah, I think I do. So I think belonging is a very individual, I belong to this team, or I believe in this leader and what we are seeking to accomplish. It's a very individual feeling, but I think you get it by being very clear about your mission, your goals, about people's roles and how they contribute to that goal, by rewarding and calling out really positive successes. And really making it so that you're able to spotlight individuals that are contributing to the success, but then also the overall team. So it's balance. You don't want to, put too much of a spotlight on any one individual, but I do think that it can be really important for people to not forget why you're doing this all in the first place. And I think that is a really, really powerful motivator.
There are a lot of ways to incent someone to join your company. It then becomes very hard to retain them if you're not able to motivate them with mission and purpose and belonging. So what I hear you speaking to is incredibly vital when it comes to retaining the team that's going to really help you accomplish the impossible.
Absolutely, and there are more and more opportunities for individuals, especially here in the Valley, but also just globally. And so you have to continually make the mission sort of front of mind and remind people how they are contributing and what's the progress towards the goal, if you will.
Tawni, it's been great to see you and get to know you even more. And thank you so much for sharing everything with me.
Thanks for having me, Kim. It's been great.